So to round this discussion off, we've been living in the Robert Courts era since 2005. The court is named after the sitting Chief Justice, and that's been John Roberts, who was a Bush Jr. appointee in 2005, and he's been joined by 8 associate justices. The latest, which is Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was President Biden's only appointee. The rest, Clarence Thomas, Bush Sr., Gorsuch, Trump, Elena Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor, Obama appointees, Alito, Bush Jr., Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett were both appointed by President Trump. And if I didn't say it, John Roberts was Bush Jr. as well. So I think it's important that you know what these people look like as well. That's Justice Jackson, it's Justice Thomas, Justice Kagan, and Chief Justice Roberts. I'm not on the court. That's Justice Alito, Justice Barrett, and Justice Kavanaugh. And to round it off, Justice Gorsuch, and that is Justice Sonia Sotomayor on Sesame Street. So we'll look at one, I think, other fairly recent important case, Hamdan versus Rumsfeld. This is Salim Ahmed Hamdan, pictured here. Donald Rumsfeld, who has since passed, was the Secretary of Defense in the Bush Jr. administration. He held a whole bunch of other responsible positions in Republican administrations, going all the way back to, I believe, President Ford. So the facts are these. Hamdan, pictured here again, was Osama bin Laden's former chauffeur. He was captured by Afghan forces, and he was imprisoned by the U.S. military in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. He filed a petition for a writ of habeas corpus in federal district court to challenge his detention. And before the district court could rule on that petition, he received a hearing from a military tribunal. And you don't want to ever find yourself in front of a military tribunal. Never. And that designated him an enemy combatant, which was what allowed him to be put in Guantanamo Bay. So the district court, after a few months, granted Hamdan's habeas petition, saying that he must first be given a hearing to determine whether he was a prisoner of war under the Geneva Convention before he could be tried by a military commission. Because if he's not a prisoner of war under the Geneva Convention, well, then there's no jurisdiction for the military. The Circuit Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia reversed that decision, finding that the Geneva Convention could not be enforced in federal court anyway, and that the establishment of military tribunals had been authorized by Congress. And since it had been authorized by Congress, because they never do anything unconstitutional, it was therefore not unconstitutional. So the questions at hand that the Supreme Court had to answer: 1, may the rights protected by the Geneva Convention be enforced in federal court through habeas corpus petitions? The other question that needed to be decided: was the military commission established to try Hamdan and others for alleged war crimes in the War on Terror authorized by the Congress or the inherent powers of the president? So those two things needed to be decided. And the answer they came up with was yes and no. Yes, the Supreme Court said in a 5-3 decision, Chief Justice Roberts doesn't take part in this because he had heard this case at the appellate stage and had recused himself. John Paul Stevens, deceased but was an Illinois native, held that neither an act of Congress nor the inherent powers of the executive laid out in the Constitution expressly authorized the sort of military commission at issue in this case. Absent that express authorization, the commission had to comply with the ordinary laws of the United States and the laws of war. The Geneva Convention, therefore, as part of the ordinary laws of war, could therefore be enforced by the Supreme Court, along with the statutory Uniform Code of Military Justice, and Hamdan's exclusion from certain parts of that trial that were deemed classified by the Military Commission violated both of these things, and therefore the trial was illegal. Justices Scalia, Thomas, and Alito dissented from this, and as I said, Chief Justice Roberts heard this case while working on the Court of Appeals, so he didn't take part in the decision. Please watch this. Please watch this. Please, please, please watch this. And that's all I've got for you on the Supreme Court.